Or two senior managers.
Welcome. My name is Felix Optehostert. I'm a senior manager at the Industrie 4.0 Maturity Center here in Aachen. And I would like to introduce Dr. Tobias Harland, also a senior manager at the Industrie 4.0 Maturity Center. And today we want to discuss how to reorganize a company in order to make its digital transformation effective. Tobias, my first question is, why do you think this is a problem, and who has this problem?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Felix. So during the last few years, and in particular now after the corona pandemic hit us, we observed a shift in the discussions about Industry 4.0. So many decision makers do not ask anymore if they have to transform to a digitally mature organization. It's more like the question of how to do that. And with this webcast, we are addressing those people who really fought for establishing the digital transformation as a strategic pillar of their companies, and convinced top management, convinced their colleagues in the last years that now is the right time to start. And we really sympathize with these people because basically they are in the same situation as we are. They are convincing people that the digital transformation is important and that it holds many benefits. And day by day they are convincing people, trying to start projects, trying to scale their projects to the company. And he also asked me about what is the actual problem of these people. And what I think is that it's the ineffectiveness of these teams and of the people who take care of the digital transformation in the company. A lot effort, a lot budget is being spent on that topic. But as we recently discussed in one of our previous webcasts, the return of invest does not really show.
Okay. So, Tobias, what do you mean with this ineffectiveness you talked about?
Yeah. So I mean it in its literal meaning. These teams dealing with the digital transformation, dealing with digital solutions today for their company, typically are highly motivated, highly innovative people, but still their work does not show a measurable effect. And now you might understand why I put a clutch on this first slide. Yeah, many of these motivated and innovative teams are like a powerful engine running at high speed, but they are still not engaged with the rest of the organization. Yeah? And so today we would like to discuss how such a clutch between those highly effective or highly innovative, motivated digitalization units and the rest of the organization has to be designed.
Okay. Maybe to make this ineffectiveness a little bit more tangible for our viewers and the audience, could you give us some examples of that?
Yeah, of course. So let's take a look on a typical org chart of a company. I know that this one is a little bit simplified, but I think it shows what's important. One typical effect is that a plant buys or develops a digital solution, for example, a new MES or an AGV. The solution is working fine for this plant, but they didn't think of scaling it to other plants and to the entire production network maybe. Imagine of all the lost synergies if all plants act like this. And what about the huge potentials of collecting, aggregating and analyzing data across all plants? With each plant only focusing on their own problems, this will never become reality. And yeah, let's look at a second typical situation. The top management develops a clear and future-proof digitalization strategy, but it never really reaches the rest of the organization. Of course, everybody is informed about the strategy. It is communicated and explained in all its elements, and the management puts a lot of emphasis in communicating this strategy. But what we observe is that the departments and the single plants, the factories of a company, still don't really know what to do with this strategy. Imagine the management, for example, puts an industrial IoT platform on their digitalization agenda, and they close a strategic partnership with a vendor. Let's say, for example, they have a partnership with Microsoft, and they even predefine use cases for that platform. And still, the plant managers will not know what to do with this and how to apply this in their plant. And why is it like that? Because there is still the link is missing. Yeah? The plant manager would still have questions like, who helps me with the implementation of this? Is my machinery ready for being connected? Or does my maintenance staff has to do upgrades on the machines to make them ready, and so on and so forth? And the third example does not show up between the top and the bottom levels of a company, but between single departments. Imagine a team of developers who is working on digital services, for example, a predictive maintenance service for their customers. This team is located in the R&D department, and they really do a great job on that, but still the solution does not really reach a technical maturity, because it highly depends on the input from other departments like the after-sales service departments or other units from the R&D department, and they are not really willing to cooperate.
Okay, thanks for sharing the examples and insights. I think that the problem is now a little bit clearer. So to summarize it, you say it would be a pity to let these Industry 4.0 digital transformation projects in a company die just because the organization or the organizational structure doesn't support their effectivity. What would you recommend based on that? What would you recommend to do?
So, of course, there is not this one-size-fits-all solution for this problem, but still there are a couple of principles that can help to overcome this ineffectiveness of those teams. And these principles are, first one is a clear management buy-in and access to the relevant resources. Second is to put business in the lead. Third one is an active portfolio management for the projects. The fourth one is the vertical channels through the entire organization. And the last one is to establish standards where they are necessary. And I know on this level they sound very generic. And what I would like to do is to do deep dives in all of them now to explain them a little bit more in detail. So the first principle, everybody, of course, talks about the importance of the management buy-in, management commitment for the digital transformation, and about the importance of having a CEO who is convinced himself, and to act as a role model. Of course, it's necessary to have the support of the top management and to have a CEO who emphasizes the importance of the digital transformation in presentations, speeches, keynotes, and so on. But that's still not enough. After all, it's not only about the communication and all these soft factors and mindset and things like that. It's also about clear strategic choices. And you can observe how serious a CEO is with the digital transformation program. Or you can't observe that really as long as enough resources are there. But what happens if, let's say, a couple of engineers from the R&D department are working on a digital solution, and they require further resources, engineers, and those engineers at the same time can work on an actual customer project that is paid. How does the CEO decide in such a situation? If those resources are not provided, those projects are doomed to fail. And as mentioned, it's about clear strategic choices and providing the right resources. If the management is really serious about the digitalization strategy, it also does not help to just assign further budget to the digital unit. If you remember the metaphor from the beginning of the clutch, two different organizations, and they have to work together. That means to ensure the collaboration with the existing organization. So if there is the need for accessing resources from one business unit, from other business units, the managers who are responsible, who are managing these resources, and the relevant experts from their teams, they need to have a compensation on their budget, obviously, and they need the right incentive system to be willing to support the digitalization team. As long as they still have the same budget as before, the management will, or the managers of those units will never provide resources to other projects. So it's about clear budgeting and also clear incentive systems for the entire organization.
Yeah. So looking at that or listening to that, it sounds pretty simple to me. Yeah, but I know it can be very hard in reality in a real organization. So, in fact, that you mean that you would change the entire budgeting of the company, also change or adapt the incentive systems of the company. So let's go to maybe to the second principle. You said put business in the lead. For me, it sounds like an affront towards the IT department, I would say. So could you explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, of course. So this is meant, of course, this is meant as an intentional provocation. I know that technology is the key of all the fundamental improvements that go along with Industry 4.0, and that IT is in the center of that. But still, the best technology will not unfold its potential if it is not accepted by the rest of the organization. So, and that is, from my perspective, or this is the way how to understand this principle from a change management perspective. It needs, or what is required for IT is a strong partner on its side who knows the processes and who knows how the business works, so to say, and who is well networked in the entire organization, in the entire company. Because they are the people who are supposed to use the technology and who are who make the technology effective at the end. On the other hand, these experts for the business, for the processes, who represent the user requirements and who talk with IT and who evaluate the business case, need to be well aware themselves of the technological opportunities as well as the limitations of the technology, of course. And this applies to internal digitalization projects. For example, the rollout, as I mentioned before, of the IoT platform across the company. Here, the IoT platform is just the tool that enables a variety of use cases, role-specific apps, whatever. And this exactly shows the problem. From the IT perspective, the hard work, for example, would be they have to find ways how to connect the machinery of the plant. They have to find solutions for retrofitting of legacy systems. They have to ensure the IT security within a plant. They have to bring the data to a central cloud-hosted database. They have to find the right framework to easily build visualizations, individual visualizations. They have to implement a user management. They have to define a rollout concept. A lot of hard work to do. From an IT perspective, it would be relatively easy afterwards to build a specific dashboard for a machine or develop a screen for the current order status in the plant, once this infrastructure is in place. What is interesting is that the difficult parts from the IT perspective are exactly those the business isn't really interested in and does not take care about. And the easy elements from the technical perspective are the important parts from this business point of view. And this shows that the key to be that it's key to be constantly aware of the use cases that go along or that should run on that infrastructure. And so there needs to be someone who has both in mind. So what is the use case and what is required from a technical perspective in the background. And this translating functionality is very essential from our experience.
Understood.
Yeah. And the same logic, of course, applies to digital solutions that are not dedicated to internal use cases, but that should serve as solutions for customers. Yeah, here it's basically the same. So you need, in addition to the technical lead of a project, someone who understands the market, who understands the customer process, and who can streamline the technology with the actual requirements.
Okay. Understood. So thanks for clarifying that. So at the end, what you want to say is you shouldn't treat digital transformation just as an IT project. There's more to do,
of course, yeah.
More to that. So as another principle, you said, or you mentioned active portfolio management. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So as I already mentioned, many companies are not in a situation anymore where the leadership team and also all the rest of the employees have to be convinced about the benefits of digitalization. In larger companies, you typically see that many initiatives are launched within single business units or factories. On the one hand, this shows that there is a high motivation to drive the digitalization. On the other hand, it also shows that there is no real coordination of the activities and no real no clearly executed digitalization strategy if everyone does something. And what is necessary here are two things. First, there must be a central hub that has the overview on the running activities. That sounds simple, but it isn't that simple. From our experience, we know that even if you have only a company with 5 factories, it is hard to keep the overview what technologies and systems are used in the single factories. For that, the collaboration of the local units is required, but I will go into the details on that later. In the ideal case, each local unit that has a new idea and wants to implement something new pitches the idea to a central hub. There it is checked if there's already an existing solution and if that solution can be applied. In addition, that central hub also maintains the overview on the current status of running projects. As a result, existing technologies and existing best practices are ventilated across the entire organization by this unit. And the central digitalization unit somehow serves as a broker of these ideas and technologies. But there's also a second aspect. And there will always be conflicts, of course, about which plant has to start or can start with a new technology. And there will always be limited budget, of course. So it's this unit also has the role to evaluate from a neutral position where certain projects make sense and where not. And to really enforce the recommended decision at the end, it's not enough that the digitalization unit just gives a friendly recommendation to the rest of the organization. In addition, there's somehow a council needed that formally takes this decision. And similar to what I said for principle 1, this is only possible if really top management is part of this council and backs this decision.
Okay, so what you say is that there is a need for a central broker, as you call it, who keeps track of the activities in regards to digital transformation, align them, prepared decisions for the top management. So this seems like, I would say, it seems like a high administrative effort, right?
So for sure, this is effort. That's clear. But when we really want to consider the digital transformation as a company-wide transformation program, and not just as an activity that is conducted in one unit, semi-external unit, where some people work together on some solutions, I think that it's worth spending this effort for the company.
What would be very interesting for me is the next principle, because you said at the beginning there is a need for vertical channels through the entire organization, and these have really to be established in the organization. So what do you mean with these vertical channels?
Okay, yeah, this principle again picks up a thought from the previous principle. So we discussed that it would be necessary that a central digitalization unit needs close contact to the top management of the company to be really effective and to have the necessary significance in their work. But that is only one part of this concept. To actually become effective at the same time, it is important to stay in close contact to, let's say, the users of the technology and to those who really have to change their way of working. At the beginning, I talked about the problem that the management decides on a profound and well-designed digitalization strategy, but it did not become effective in the factories. To bridge that missing link, further roles are necessary. First of all, there needs to be a group of people. On this slide, they are called the digitalization consultants. That group understands both worlds. They need to understand the technological possibilities that are provided by the IT, and they need to be able to estimate the effort. On the other hand, they need to understand the processes in the plants. It is their job to promote the existing solutions and at the same time to collect further requirements. And for that, it's good if they have a counterpart in the local units, like some dedicated person who is responsible for the digital transformation in the plant, and they are in constant exchange, and so the information flow in both directions is ensured.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, this sounds like effort. Maybe could you explain the necessity and the benefits of that?
Yeah, it's good that you again ask this question about effort. I didn't want to create the impression that these people that you saw on the slide, these roles, are necessarily full-time positions.
Okay.
So it's not that the company needs to hire all these people. First of all, these are this is not these are not full-time jobs, and secondly, in many companies there are existing structures like this, and these structures can be leveraged for the digital transformation. For example, we often work together with the Global Production System Organization. This is a typical group of people that is responsible for the rollout and further development of the production system on a global level. They develop and introduce standard processes for plant, they share best practices, they train their colleagues in methodologies to continuously improve, and many further things. From my perspective, it makes perfectly sense to further develop these existing units and to leverage existing experts and existing structures.
As you described, these are not necessarily people who are IT experts. So how can they help to implement these technologies that require such an expertise?
For sure. Process experts and consultants, they will not implement the technologies themselves at the end. They identify the needs in the plants and map them with existing technologies that help to improve the situation there. They work as translators. Of course, the technical implementation is conducted by IT experts as well as experts for IT-OT integration, for example, depending, of course, on the single cases. This, of course, also requires a special set of capabilities for the IT that is not necessarily existing in a company already. In some cases, the local production IT experts, they exist, or they have maintenance engineers who are also skilled in automation and in OT technology. but it depends a lot on the individual situation. What we see is what in any case makes sense to have some global units, task forces that help in the implementation. They really can do that 1 week after the other, roll out technologies and plants, and really can become professionals in a very specific technology, in a very specific field, and at the same time the plants, they don't have to hire new people for such tasks.
So at the end, what is clear, I would say, is that you need both competencies. You need the people who have the IT competencies and the ones who have the domain knowledge and know all about the processes. There's a principle called establish standards where necessary. At the end, I would like to understand this a little bit more. Because I would expect it's always good to have standardized processes and they use technologies as much as simple to being able to scale them.
Okay. For sure, it would be best to have a standard for everything, and then being able to just roll that out to all your business units, all plants. But that is not possible in most companies. The reason for that the reasons are numerous. Different plants have different business models. There's a different legacy IT, and so on and so forth. So the status quo is a different one. And thus there is no one-size-fits-all concept and one standard that you can apply everywhere, particularly when you want to roll out new IT. It is key to know where global, from our perspective, we have to figure out where you really can roll out a global standard and where you still have to maintain allow the variety, the local variety, and that's the important part. To explain that, I would like to refer to a framework that we also often use. It is called Internet of Production Reference Architecture, a simple framework that explains or helps to structure your IT landscape along the entire product lifecycle. This framework is divided into different layers. On the bottom level, we see today's application systems that we use in our daily operations in our plants, for example, and we also see further data sources like PLCs and further devices. Typically, a high variety exists on this level when you compare different factories or different business units. The two green layers in the middle provide a central data infrastructure, I would call it. Here, the access to the different data sources is managed. Data is organized in an overarching data model. By establishing this green standard layer in the middle, it is possible to flexibly access different kind of data coming from different data sources and providing them via role-specific applications at the end. This framework gives us a good overview where global standards are necessary. They are necessary for everything on the green layer, and where local variety can still be maintained. So in the blue layer on the bottom. And after all such standards help us to scale applications that were once developed only in one plant. We can easily scale them to the entire organization because they run on the same infrastructure, so to say. And this, at the end, gives us the possibility to operate our own company-wide, we can call it App Store, with validated solutions, validated applications, and most important, scalable applications. Because once we have the infrastructure established in all plants, it's easy to bring the solutions to the plants.
Thank you, Tobias. That were a lot of insights and methods and approaches you showed us. So I think it's time to now let them sink in, and think about it. So I'm pretty sure there are many people and organizations out there, also out of the viewers, who are exactly in the same situation that you described in the beginning of our webcast. They have a really good idea and solutions for their digital transformation, but up to now they don't really got track or they still had the clutch, not the clutch attached, and didn't make this effective in the organization. So for all of our viewers out there who want to discuss the current situation, the digital strategy, and also the next steps within the organization. You can schedule a first virtual workshop with us, with Tobias, me or my colleagues, and just send us an email or contact us via LinkedIn or write us in the comments on LinkedIn, and we will be happy to learn from you, to hear from you, and work with you on your digital transformation journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.